Should you buy a car from local dealerships or should you do direct importation? In this video, you're going to talk about the pros and the cons of both. And this is a side by side comparison. So don't get tired if I keep on switching from one side to the other. So we'll start off with the first one, talking about the pros of buying from local dealerships. The first one is buying a car in local dealership gives you the convenience of time. You walk into a dealership and drive out with a car of your preference after a couple of hours, as compared to importing cars, which takes time. The entire process can take up to 45 days, depending on the whether you're buying the car from stock, Japanese stock, or foreign Japanese auctions. Another advantage of buying a car from local dealerships is you are offered a variety of payment options by multiple institutions and companies in the form of car financing. You also have the luxury of buying the car on hire purchase terms from the dealerships, where you use lipa mdogo mdogo as you pay until you pay off the entire price of the car. The disadvantage to this is you are exposed to rogue financing companies, which are cases that are all over the internet or social media because of hidden charges that financing companies lay on people. And this other bad aspect is you end up paying a ridiculously high amount of money for a car that would have been cheaper if you bought using cash. However, it works well for those who have their finances organized and they do not have to suffer in any way when they are doing their payments. On the importation side, you have very limited options when it comes to car financing. There are a few institutions that offer import financing, but there are not so many when compared to dealing with local dealers. Also, there is no likelihood of doing a higher purchase when importing because the exporter from Japan expects a full amount of the CIF. Also, when the car arrives in Mombasa, KRA wants the full amount of the duties you have to pay. Another advantage of buying locally is that you have the luxury of doing a test drive of the car before committing to buying it. As a result, you are sure you are buying a car that will work for you. Also, you have the luxury of doing a pre-purchase inspection. That way, you are ensuring that you get a good car that is in a mechanically good condition to drive. On the other hand, for importation, you do not get to have access to these two aspects because the car you want to buy is in another country. That's why you're importing it. However, this is not usually a big issue because we have QISJ, which is a body approved by KEBS to do a pre-purchase inspection and approve the vehicle by issuing a certificate of roadworthiness. Also, the auction sheet provided by the seller adds a level of security because it gives you the entire condition of the car, usually graded from grade 6, auction grade 6 to grade R. Another advantage of buying in local dealerships nowadays is you have the option of doing a trade-in. That simply means you bring your old car, you drive into a dealership, and then you top up with a small amount and you drive out with a new car. This model does not work for importation because there's no way of returning an imported car back to Japan to trade it in another one. So the only option available is the owner to sell the car he or she has now, then top up the amount and then do the direct importation. However, sometimes getting a buyer for the car you're selling is very hard and it takes time. Now, looking at the advantages of car importation, the first one we have is you have access to unlimited options. For example, I have never seen a Lexus CT200H in Kenyan dealerships, which is a very great hatchback you can buy in the place of Mazda Axela or Volvo V40 or Audi A3 and Volkswagen Golf TCI. You also have access to models that are not available in Kenya. For example, you can decide you want to buy a 2020 model of any car you want. And there are not so many 2020 models in Kenya right now. The ones we have in the Kenyan dealerships, the Nyezimejani 2016, 2017, and a lot of 2015 models. You can also import other unique cars such as Ford Focus or Hyundai Tucson, which are not available in local dealerships. For people who are color fanatics, you can easily get a color of your choice from Japanese stocks because Japan usually has a million cars they are selling every day. Another advantage of importing is you have the luxury of importing high quality, high grade cars from Japan. For example, for quality purposes, we only stick to importing auction grade 4 and above for clients. As a result, you have a mechanically sound car that is super clean both on the inside and outside. You do not get that a lot in local dealerships because some of the dealerships import grade 3 and grade 3.5 units and then sell them at exorbitant prices. And talking of prices, another advantage is that you importing a car is way much cheaper than buying locally stocked vehicles. And this is because dealerships import cars to sell and they add a markup price on their cars so that they can make a profit, and that is business, which is normal. Those who benefit the most from importation of cars are those that buy mid to high end cars because you get to save between 400,000 and up to 1 million shillings to buy a mid luxury or a luxury budget car. An example of a high end car that would be a 2020 model of the Toyota Land Cruiser 300 GR Sport, which is sold locally between 25 to 27 million Kenyan shillings. But you can do a direct importation of that same car between 18 million to 21 million total cost and get to save between 5 million to 6 million. That is wild saving. So you get that importing a similar model of a car that is locally stocked is quite cheaper than buying a locally stocked car. Another advantage of importing is that you get a fully kitted or fully loaded car, and 90% of the time you will get what you ordered. And by fully kitted, I mean cars that come with spare wheel tires, they come with tire repair kits, they come with first aid kits, aftermarket modifications, dashboard cameras, and others, or maybe aftermarket sound systems. In some dealerships, when the car comes in with these things, they are removed so that they can sell them separately. Ama unapata other rogue dealerships change parts and replace those parts with cheaper parts or lower quality parts. A car can roll into a dealership with grade 6 tires, and then when it gets there, their tires are replaced with a grade 4, grade 3 tires, which are worn out. Another advantage of importing your own car is that this model favors people who want to sell cars without necessarily owning a dealership. For example, you can import an Auris at around 1.5 million or 1.6 million Kenyan shillings and list them and sell it locally at 1.8 or 1.9 million Kenyan shillings. You can do that by listing the car on Facebook marketplaces, Gigi, or even other online platforms such as kaba.co.ke or kayandkaro.com. On the flip side, you cannot do the same with local dealerships because the cars in dealerships are already listed at market prices. So your profit margins are very low if you're planning to get into the car business. Another advantage of importation is that there is rarely middlemen or brokers. Brokers can be a menace sometimes when dealing with the local dealerships, and that is because they are hustling to get an extra coin from you by selling a car from a dealership to you. And some of the brokers can quote car prices by over 500,000 Kenyan shillings as compared to the listing of the car in local dealerships. But in importation process, you are ideally working with your importation agent or facilitator, or if you know the intricacies of the importation process, you can do it yourself without much hassle. As a result, you are in charge of your finances and you get to save on a lot of money that would have ended up in the hands of brokers. In my opinion, the safest way to buy a car in Kenya is importing. The advantages of importation far outweigh those of buying locally. The only thing that a person needs is enough money and patience because it takes quite some time to import a car from Japan or any other foreign market to Kenya. And if you want to import a car with us, you can reach out to us via the contact number provided on the screen or provided in our bio in the social media platforms. Also, remember to follow us on our social media platforms and then subscribe to our YouTube channel.